superstar Taylor Swift abruptly pulling all of her albums from the streaming service Spotify.
Tidal, a new music streaming service launched by the hip-hop mogul.
Imagine a world where music is free, but illegal. The early 2000s were ruled by piracy, and record labels were losing billions. Then, a bold Swedish startup emerged with a game-changing promise. But here's the twist. Spotify's rise wasn't exactly legal. How did it pull off the impossible? The internet was booming, MP3 players were everywhere, and millions were downloading their favorite songs illegally. Platforms like Napster, LimeWire, and the Pirate Bay had taken over, making it nearly impossible for artists and labels to make money. The music industry was on the brink of collapse. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, a Swedish startup promised the impossible, a free, legal way to listen to music anytime, anywhere. It sounded too good to be true, and in some ways, it was, because Spotify's rise to power wasn't exactly legal at first. In fact, the company made a risky, controversial move that could have destroyed it before it even launched. So, how did Spotify go from a rebellious idea to the most powerful force in music streaming? Buckle up, because this is the wild, untold story of how Spotify broke the rules and changed the world. The music industry's worst nightmare. Before Spotify, music piracy was unstoppable. People weren't buying CDs anymore. They were downloading entire albums in seconds. The biggest names in the industry were losing control, and lawsuits against pirate platforms weren't solving the problem. Even when Apple introduced iTunes in 2003, charging 99 cents per song, piracy didn't stop. Why? Because people had already gotten used to free music. The industry needed a miracle, someone who could figure out how to make music free while still paying the artists. That miracle came from an unexpected place, a young, ambitious Swedish entrepreneur named Daniel Ek. Daniel Ek's backstory. Born on February 21, 1983, in Stockholm, Sweden, Daniel Ek wasn't born into wealth or fame. He was just a kid obsessed with computers. By the time he was 14, he was already making money by building websites. At 16, he was earning more than his teachers. He wasn't just a tech genius, he was a visionary. By his early 20s, he had already worked at several startups, including uTorrent, the file-sharing software that allowed people to download movies and music at lightning speed. But Ek had a different dream. He wanted to build something that changed the world, something that solved a massive problem. And in 2006, he found that problem: music piracy. Ek realized that people didn't want to steal music. They just wanted convenience. They didn't want to wait for downloads or deal with viruses. They just wanted instant access to their favorite songs. So, he asked himself a bold question. What if we made piracy irrelevant by offering a better, legal alternative? That was the spark that led to Spotify. How Spotify began. Ek teamed up with Martin Lorentzen, a wealthy investor, and together they founded Spotify in 2006. Their goal? Create a music platform that was faster, smoother, and easier than piracy. But there was a massive problem. To launch Spotify legally, they needed licenses from record labels. But the industry, still furious over piracy, was highly skeptical. They didn't trust streaming, and they certainly didn't want to partner with a tiny Swedish startup. So Ek and his team did something bold and possibly illegal. And what was the big thing? They built Spotify in secret, using unlicensed music. They created a working prototype, one that streamed music instantly, unlike anything the world had seen before. When they finally met with record labels, they didn't just pitch an idea. They showed them a product that already worked. This was a huge risk. Technically, they were using music without permission. Sounds great, right? Something that could have led to massive lawsuits. But instead of shutting them down, the labels were blown away. Spotify wasn't just another music service. It was a game changer. The illegal rise of Spotify. By 2008, Spotify was ready for launch, but the labels still weren't convinced. So Ek made another bold move. He offered the record labels equity in Spotify. This meant that if Spotify succeeded, the labels would make millions. It was a brilliant, almost sneaky move, and it worked. The major labels signed licensing deals, and in October 2008, Spotify officially launched in Sweden, but there was a catch. The music industry forced Spotify to stay invite-only at first, fearing it could become another piracy platform. However, as soon as people started using it, the response was overwhelming. Spotify wasn't just another music service. It was magic. Instant streaming, no waiting, no downloading, just click and play. Sounds easy. The service quickly spread across Europe, and by 2011, it arrived in the US. The music industry, once hostile to streaming, was now embracing Spotify. But not everyone was happy. Spotify didn't just launch, it took off. The game changer? Facebook's 2011 integration, turning Spotify into a social music hub. Instantly, users could share songs, and Spotify's global expansion skyrocketed. By 2014 to 2015, it had 75 million users and crushed competitors with one key weapon: data. AI-driven playlists like Discover Weekly revolutionized music discovery. Fans loved it, artists not so much. While Spotify thrived, musicians struggled to earn. The precarious economics of Spotify. Here's where things get tricky. The precarious economics of Spotify. Who really wins? Spotify's business model is built on two types of users. 1. Free users. They can listen to music without paying, but have to hear ads between songs. 2. Premium subscribers. They pay a monthly fee for an ad-free experience and additional features like offline listening. This model generates billions in revenue. But here's where things get controversial. How much do artists actually get paid? Unlike traditional album sales, where artists earned a set amount per purchase, Spotify pays artists per stream, and the numbers are shockingly low. On average, 1 million streams generate about $4,000 to $6,000. But that money isn't just for the artist. It's split between record labels, producers, songwriters, and other rights holders. Critics and Spotify, who truly benefits? Many smaller artists barely make anything from streaming, despite their songs being played thousands, even millions of times. The main thing? Critics slam Spotify for paying artists mere pennies, while record labels rake in huge profits. To many, Spotify isn't saving music, it's exploiting it. This is why some of the biggest names in music, like Taylor Swift, Jay-Z, Adele, and Tom York, have criticized Spotify. Taylor Swift famously pulled her entire catalog from the platform in 2014, arguing that Spotify's payment system treated artists unfairly and calling it a grand experiment that doesn't fairly compensate musicians. Jay-Z took it a step further, launching Tidal to offer artists better pay. Yet, despite the backlash, Spotify kept growing, proving that convenience often wins over fairness. And that is where Spotify defended itself, saying, "We're fighting piracy. We're giving artists exposure. Without us, they'd make nothing." Here's the shocking twist. The biggest winners aren't the artists, but the record labels. Major labels own equity in Spotify, meaning they don't just make money from streams, they also receive huge payouts from Spotify's overall success. While artists struggle to earn fair wages from streaming, the industry executives are profiting more than ever. So, while Spotify may have revolutionized the way we listen to music, has it really helped musicians, or just made the rich even richer? The future of Spotify. What comes next? Today, Spotify dominates the music world with over 600 million users and an ever-growing influence on how we discover and consume music. With its AI-powered playlists and personalized recommendations, it has completely changed the way we listen. But the question remains, is Spotify truly good for the music industry? On one hand, it saved music from piracy, making legal streaming the new standard. On the other hand, it has sparked major debates about artist compensation. Some argue that while Spotify benefits listeners, labels, and executives, artists, especially smaller ones, are still struggling to make a living. So, what comes next? As competition in the streaming industry grows, Spotify faces major challenges. Can it create a fairer payment system for artists? Will new competitors force it to change its model? How will AI and new technology shape the future of music streaming? One thing's for sure, Spotify changed the game, and whether you love it or hate it, its impact on music is undeniable. But this story isn't over yet, because the future of music is still being written. Outro. What do you think? Has Spotify helped or hurt the music industry? Is it revolutionary, or just another way for big corporations to profit off musicians? so let us know in the comments below. If you found this video interesting, hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives, and turn on notifications so you never miss a story. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you think artists are getting a fair deal, or is the system broken? See you in the next one.